This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV. It's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
You're listening to the Animation Addicts podcast with the Rotoscopers, episode 337, Peter Pan and Wendy. Who is the real villain here? Welcome to the Animation Addicts podcast with the Rotoscopers, the number one place to get your animation fix with animation addicts just like you. Each episode, we dive into the wonderful world of animation featuring Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and everything in between. From hilarious discussions and movie reviews to interviews with industry insiders, this show's mission is to brighten your day through our love of animation. So hop on your nerdy couch, grab some snacks, and get ready to hang out with your animation besties because it's time to dive into today's episode.
Hey there, animation addicts. I'm Morgan Stradling.
And I'm Chelsea Robson.
All right, Chelsea, I have an age-old question for you. Pirate, fairy, or mermaid?
Mermaid all the way, baby.
Okay, yes. Something that is lacking in this film, which we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
For me, I would go... mermaid's kind of iconic, pretty amazing. Pirates are fine. They're all really great.
You wouldn't want to be a fairy?
I mean, that was the ambiguity of the question. Is this something that you want to become? Is this something that you just simply enjoy? You're aesthetically minded. You're liking this more than that. So it's really up to you, the viewer, to understand.
Yes.
So
I obviously want to be a mermaid.
If we're talking about OG Disney 1953 Peter Pan, it's definitely mermaid all the way.
Yeah. Yes. And in general, as opposed to, actually, the mermaids in this one were not necessarily the ones that I would want to be, but, I mean, we'll stick with that.
Okay. Well, welcome to the Animation Addicts podcast. We are here. We are continuing our Disney Plus Originals series, where we are going and reviewing some of the films that were released exclusively on Disney Plus over the past few years. We have quite a few to choose from, but we're sticking to ones that fall in the remake camp. So last episode...
Because don't they all?
Well, indeed, but you know how it goes. So we did Lady and the Tramp, and that was an interesting one. That was one of the flagship films that was released, which was very much overshadowed by The Mandalorian. When that was released, The Mandalorian was everywhere. And now we're talking, this is 4 years later, we are going to be discussing Peter Pan and Wendy.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
But do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
All right, before we get started, let's give some basic information. I've expanded this. I went back to the template, where we copy and paste, and these are the main things. Over the years, we've added a few more things, and I realized, there's a few more key roles that I think we should just shout out every episode. So raise your hand when you recognize a new one, okay?
Oh, okay.
So the movie is Peter Pan and Wendy. The release date, April 28th, 2023. You see what I did there? I moved that up to the top because I feel like it's really important. Just to get that out of the way.
Okay.
I don't know. Aesthetically, I wanted to know. Give me a time. Give me a in time and space
stage
where this was released. Then I can kind of gauge from there. The production studio, Walt Disney Pictures, along with Whitaker Entertainment. Distributor, Disney Plus. Director was David Lowery. He was also known for directing the remake of Pete's Dragon. Screenplay is David Lowery and Toby Halbrooks. You're supposed to raise your hand. That's a new one.
Those sound new.
Indeed. Composer, Daniel Hart.
Also, that sounds new.
I knew you would like the music. Budget, who knows? And box office, who knows? So there we have it. And we will discuss the cast when we get to it. But Alexander Maloney, newcomer, played Peter Pan. Ever Anderson played Wendy Darling. Jude Law as Captain Hook. And I'm doing some more notables. We have Jim Gaffigan as Smee, Yara Shahidi as Tinkerbell. So those were kind of and then of course Alan Tudyk as Mr. Darling.
Of course.
So we will be talking about all of these characters and what they are. But so where do you want to kick this off? I feel like this one I have so much more to say than I did for Lady and the Tramp.
And looking at the document that we have prepared, it does look like you have a lot more to say than I do. But I still feel like we are running along the same path on this.
All right.
You just
Excellent.
are much more verbose.
I was just maybe I had some time today to let it all out, to journal it. Let's journal your thoughts on this movie.
Yes. Well, I would like to, before we jump into all this, I would like to go to the IMDb's of the world, and while doing some research, I found a page that was all the Peter Pan movies ranked from worst to best.
Okay, so a little nerdy couch discussion right now.
Yes,
okay.
Very, very short, but we'll get there.
A
Congratulations.
wee nerdy couch discussion.
Congratulations to Peter Pan and Wendy for being number 3 in order of worst to best.
Oh no. We're setting the stage, everybody.
Yes, of the 20 films.
22.
22 titles. It is 3 from the bottom. So good job. You were not the worst.
Okay.
According to this according to this list.
Okay, so let's just go through this really quickly.
Okay,
so it's ranked by average user rating. So this is just, sometimes you go into these websites, it's someone's user list that they created, user-generated content, if you will, but this is just solely based on all the feedback. And a lot of these have a decent amount of ratings. Some of them have 229,000. That's these big films like Peter Pan and Wendy. But some of these other ones, 136, 772, I mean, much smaller. So
smaller, but still enough of a I would say enough of a piece of the pie.
For sure. So coming in at number 22, The Lost Girls, came out in 2022. It looks like it's some sort of TV series. Not well received. Like her grandmother and her mother, Jane, before her, yes, Wendy must escape Pan's hold on her, and and promises he wants her to keep. So this is kind of a Return to Neverland situation, vaguely knowing nothing about this. Isn't that kind of what the other one is? That one is about? Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. Peter Pan, The Quest for Neverbook. Ooh, there's Neverland and Neverbook. I said that incorrectly. Neverbook. So I'm not going to read the synopses for all of these, but since we
that was 2018.
2018 TVY. It looks like a television series. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Pan and Wendy coming in at good old 20 out of 22. Way to go. You did it, Disney. I mean, you're really getting a good old bang for your buck with your billions of dollars you're investing into these Disney Plus originals. Then there's Peter Pan Live. This is 2014, and it's just a telecast of the beloved J.M. Barrie story. So this is more obviously true to the play. This is basically the play live. I feel like I vaguely remember this, but maybe not. Then we have Neverland. It's not rated. It's from 2003. When Peter takes Wendy to Neverland, a burnt-out suburban amusement park filled with self-styled fairies, lost punks, and beautiful performers, the classic fantasy story becomes a chilling nightmare at the hands of Captain Hook, who's hellbent on destroying the youth and beauty he so desperately envies. Wow, that's something. Okay. Next up, we have Come Away from 2022, rated PG. Don't know anything about that. Then we have Wendy. Okay, that's coming up. And now the order is
2021.
2020. Yeah, now the order's all mixed up because this is doing the math in my head. Seventh from the bottom. Then we have Pan, 2015. Now, I remember this coming out, but I never saw it. It's rated PG. And it's just kind of a little 12-year-old orphan Peter spirited away to the magical world of Neverland. So it's a lot of these films, they really... And I was going to talk about this in the movie. There's really two ways that you can do this. You can stick very close to the original play as possible. Mm-hmm. Some of these on the list literally are the play just in a live setting or recorded. Then there's others where we're being very close to the play. However, we're going to make some changes here and there. Or what you can do is you can take more liberties with this and do what you will with that. And that's what I think the 1953 Peter Pan is. They definitely took the story and then changed quite a bit to make it their own version, their own retelling. That's what I think Pan is and falls into that category. Mm-hmm. Then we have Return to Neverland. I'm switching the ranking. I'm sorry that I did this, guys. This is ninth as far as the worst. This is like a terrible... I tried to see if I could flip the way that it was. So the ninth worst one, so we're getting progressively better as we go along, is Return to Neverland. This is the era of the
Disney remake.
Direct to VHS or direct to DVD sequels. You know, this was 2002, so they were definitely in the heyday of these. What I like about these ones is the animation at this point is very, very nice. It's crisp. It's well done. Mm-hmm. So I vaguely remember seeing that one. Then we have...
Give them their props.
So instead of Peter Pan and Wendy, number 10 on the list is Peter and Wendy, 2015. Man, I mean, everybody, since this is in public domain, everyone is just going ham with this. This was a TV movie. So, wow. And then coming up number 11 is Disney's Peter Pan. Shocked. It's not even near the top of the list. It's simply
it's
smack dab in the middle. Yeah, it's 11 out of 22 as far as and this is more on the bad side of it. If we're looking at that, if this is 11th from the worst. Oh no. Then we have Neverland. This is 2011. There were just 2 episodes of this mini series. Has Keira Knightley in it. Oh, might have to check it out. Okay. Then we have Finding Neverland. I remember seeing this one. This is in 2004.
I loved this one.
Now this is very off the beaten path as far as the Peter Pan story. It's just talking about J.M. Barrie and what inspired him to create Peter Pan. Then we have, the next 7 or 8, I don't even know how we're going to differentiate this. The 1976 Peter Pan. All of these movies, basically from here on out, are titled Peter Pan. So Then we have the 1976 Peter Pan, followed by the 1924 Peter Pan. Ooh, I have been going back and watching on Turner Movie Classics, a lot of these really old films from the 20s, 30s, 40s. Did a lot of Christmas films from this era, and it has been so enjoyable. What I end up doing is I go onto the DVR and I look at the guide and I go to TCM and I just scroll through all of the movies in the directory as far into the future as it will allow me. Usually it's 3 to 4 weeks. And then anyone that I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Oh, that's interesting. Yes, I want to watch that. Record. And then eventually, over time, my recordings get filled. It's been a lovely exercise. I've been introduced to many a nice film. So I'm actually going to go see if at some point in time, maybe this version of Peter Pan will appear. Then in 2000, we have Peter Pan, and this was a Broadway version produced for television. And this is one from my childhood. This is the 1960 Peter Pan with Mary Martin.
Yes.
I want to do this one. Maybe we should just do what Jonathan North does. I think he actually already has done this with his every version ever. And
has he done 22 Peter Pans?
No, he did a ranking with Rachel. And it was really, and basically we're just giving like their ranking, but because there's so many of them, they didn't really elaborate. So as I should not be doing, because we're not here to talk about these, 1955 version of Peter Pan, the 2003 version of Peter Pan. Then we have.
Okay, I would like to.
This is the top 4.
I really like this. Yeah, this is
number
top
4.
The 2003 Peter Pan is probably my favorite of the Peter Pans.
Okay.
I really liked that one. I just felt like it had a lot of whimsicalness to it. It had the girl who plays Wendy is so like just darling. She's very effervescent. And the kid who plays Peter also just very, he is what you would expect a Peter Pan to be. Just very like, he's got a bit of a flair. He's got a little bit of devil may care, but he's also more naive, and just trying to do his little adventure. And I felt like that version was just excellent version. So, and Jonathan Isaacs as
Jason Isaacs.
And Jason Isaacs as the dad and Captain Hook, he did fantastic.
I have never seen this one, so I will have to check it out. And I do have a correction. So I did say the reason I was confused, this number 11, 12-ish on the list, this 1988 Peter Pan, it looks mirror image to Disney's Peter Pan, and in my mind I just saw it's spitting image right here of Disney's version. This is some sort of knockoff that came out in the 80s. Okay. So no, the Disney version of Peter Pan is not smack dab in the middle. It's actually within these top 3. So coming in at number 3 is the 1991 Hook. What a classic. This is sort of a sequel.
That's so good.
Yeah, and it takes the classic Peter Pan story and it just flips it on its head and creates something new and different, very iconic, very original, very heartwarming, directed by Steven Spielberg all around.
And if you're going to be taking liberties with the story of Peter Pan, like they did it right. They really did. They had a whole just the whole element of family and that being the main thing, and like the reason why you grow up is to become what you maybe have feared in the past. Like they did a fantastic job with Hook. And I watched it recently and it was just like, they don't make films like this anymore at all.
A really long movie at 2 hours, 22 minutes.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so this list, I don't know who hacked this. I am sorry, guys. We should have proofed this list beforehand. Number 2 is a scratch. It's being scratched from the record because it claims that Chippendale Rescue Rangers is the second best Peter Pan film of all time.
Because Peter Pan is the main villain.
I mean, really?
I mean, spoiler alerts, but yes.
And because it has a 6.9 rating compared to Hook's 6.8, that's the reason it's okay. I would never include that on my list.
I wouldn't
personally,
either.
But everyone needs to go and
it's definitely one to
after
watch.
you
It's
give
fun.
a 5-star review to the Animation Addicts podcast on Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate that. We really want to get to 400 reviews. I think we're like 1 away last time I checked. So everyone go, leave us a 5-star review, and then after, log into IMDb, go to Hook and give Hook a 10-star rating because it needs to be higher than 6.8. I mean, at this point, there's 281,000 reviews, or compared to the 49,000. Your little like isn't going to do anything, so actually don't waste your time. Just give us a review. But yeah. Yes. And then obviously number 1 is 1953 Disney's Peter Pan. What a list. There's so many. Okay, if you could, is there one on this list that you've never seen that perhaps you would like to?
That I would like to? No, not really. I've seen all the ones that I would care to see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would see the 2003 Peter Pan. I've never seen it. And then as a rewatch, I'm going to go back and watch Hook. And the 1960 Mary Martin Peter Pan. These are all basically.
That one is a good one. Yeah.
I'm going to introduce all of these good ones to my kids. So with that,
Perfect.
let's talk about this film. This is a goodie, a good one to talk about because there's lots of things that
There's lots to talk about, yes.
Yes. And so, my first thoughts as we were doing this is like, I remember vaguely hearing like, this is the worst. This is terrible. I remember watching some reviews on it because my stance for such a long time is I do not participate in the live action remakes. I'm abstinence. That is my philosophy. I have the philosophy of abstinence when it comes to these things. And I broke it. Oh my gosh, I'm such a sinner. But I did that. And so I just remember, since I never watched them, I would watch reviews of them occasionally. And I just remember like this was such a stinker when people were talking about it.
Oh yeah, people were ticked about this. And I didn't have any desire to watch it at all, just because all of the people that I trusted were like, don't, this is terrible.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. And so that was, as far as like first thoughts or memories of this movie, like as I'm pushing play, I'm just thinking, oh no, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. So. You know what's really funny is my first thoughts as we finished this opening sequence, I remember thinking, yes, a reminder of that completely successful Disney 100 celebration. Oof. It seems all the movies they put out to celebrate this. We have Peter Pan and Wendy, the Little Mermaid remake. We have Wish. It was just like oof, 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 over and over and over again, falling down the stairs. Like maybe they should just swap the title treatment out because they love to do that to the old 90s ones, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. Is on Disney Plus is they'll swap out the old, the blue.
See,
iconic, amazing.
And iconic as the movie themselves.
Yes, and
so
it's a relic that needs to be there, an artifact of the era. And instead they swap in, the one that was created in 2007, and it's just really frustrating to me. I'm like, you don't get to do this. I know you own it, but no. Anyway, so one thing that I thought was actually interesting as the movie gets long, and there's the actual title treatment where it shows the movie, the title of the movie within the movie, is that the title treatment that they had in the movie was so cute. It evoked back to the original font that they used in in Peter Pan. Actually, I think it's the same font that's in Peter Pan as its title screen. But on the Disney Plus listing and on the posters, they used a different font. It was not as appealing. It wasn't cute. It didn't have the little feather of Peter Pan's cap. I just thought it was such a miss. I'm like, I liked this. And this is obviously a very big nitpick, but I don't understand why they do that. I'm like, just pick one. And
I actually really liked the first entrance, like the staging of how they moved everybody around and where the camera went and followed up the stairs and just all of that was very engaging. And I thought it was really cool. So that was like one of those things that I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, I can give as of right now, I am liking this. Okay. First, moments. I like what they're doing with this. So
yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. And I initially it's like, oh wow, is this going to be one of the remakes where we're recreating the film shot for shot? And initially this opening sequence seems like it is. It's very true to and when I'm saying the original, I'm referencing the 1953 Disney version, the animated version, not the original, which is the J.M. Barrie 1903 play. So just to clarify that, when I'm referencing the play, I'll definitely mention the play. But yeah, and I liked that. They did some changes. My big qualm with a lot of the remakes is everything's so fast. They kind of rush through the moments that you'd have more slow time. For example, once Peter Pan Peter Pan's entrance for one, there's no mystery or intrigue about him creeping up on the house and peeking over, and you can just see the dark silhouette almost of his face, and it's lit up by Tinkerbell, and then you see his eyes, and he has this little mischievous smile, and then he's climbing by the window. There's a lot of suspense in that's created in that moment. And, the parents basically go away and say goodnight, sorry, you're going to boarding school, see you later in the morning. And then he just appears. It was like, oh, okay. That was a huge miss. And then, as I was going back and watching some clips from Peter Pan and Wendy are having this conversation while Tinkerbell is getting stuck in the drawer. and she's trying to get out, but then one of the gags is her hips are so large that, she can't get through the keyhole. And it's interesting because there's actually you're paying attention to what Tinkerbell's doing, but you're also paying attention to the dialogue that's happening. And it's an important character moment between Peter Pan and Wendy. What's happening there? It's just actually quite a few moments happening all at once. And that's just completely cut. And I feel like they're just kind of like, yada, yada, let's just get to Neverland as quickly as possible. Some of these slower moments, for example, with Nana being the nanny and finding purpose in taking care of the children, and the children having the buried treasure. All of that is lost, and the nuance that these children are just absolutely obsessed with Peter Pan. It doesn't seem like they have this devotion or admiration for Peter Pan in this version that they do, because it seems like Wendy's role of being a mother is completely erased.
It is, and that is one of the weirdest parts about this movie, because the fact that they've changed her motivations and her character in general, you've really changed the whole dynamic of the film. And Peter Pan, it's not his film. This is Wendy's film. And like, he is not a character that you are looking at, focusing on, or anything. And he, throughout the entire thing, is almost made out to be the villain of the whole thing. And he just is flat and just, like, there's just a lot of weird things that I felt like were like, you've really changed the entire movie by the fact that you've taken her out of the mother role. Because she is trying to be, yes, she does tell the stories and do all these things, but she's doing it because she's trying to take care of them, not because, and she's there in the original, they are moving her out of the nursery. And so, but she's really sad about that, but it's not because she doesn't want to grow up. She's moving out because she's no longer a part of her brother's lives, really. And so it's just like, it's like moving her past into a different realm that she's just not used to.
Well, it's also this forced maturity. You've hit an age where you no longer are a child. You're moving out of the nursery, which is for the children. And now, because we said so, this is your new realm, which is hard. And even though she was in the nursery and she was a child, she had this mothering nature to her. And she still was able to be a caretaker to her brothers and obviously then the lost boys as we get there. And here, I mean, you're kind of annoying, I guess. So we're moving you to boarding school, or we want to turn you into a lady, so we're going to turn you to boarding school. It's just the motivations, they don't hit as hard emotionally.
Yeah, and it really feels like, okay, are they trying to make her a tomboy because now she's the one that's doing all of the fighting, and she's also the one that's breaking the mirrors and like being more of the boy than even the little boys. Like, and that's the other thing, is the little boys are just like they're not even like questions as characters.
Oh,
like they have,
they are just placeholders that are needed because I mean, you can't cut the brothers.
Right. Like, he wears the top hat. That's and the other one has the bear. Like, that's literally the only
and they get
part
caught.
of
they get
character. Yeah. And so it really doesn't have a very good cohesive feel between them as siblings. And then also when they bring in Peter Pan, his whole thing is just like, he's so flat and just has no personality, and like it's almost like he's almost a nihilist. Like, he's just like, yeah, I don't care, whatever, you know. And it's like, ugh, I'm not a fan of this.
Right. Yeah, I really did miss my quirky redheaded Bobby Driscoll Peter Pan in that moment. Right. Oh man, this guy just came off as like a very early Daniel Radcliffe, who did Harry Potter in the Harry Potter films. Just, I'm talking about movie 1, Daniel Radcliffe. I mean, Daniel Radcliffe never really got tremendously better as it went on. He did, but very woody. That's the right term, right? Not wooden. I guess both. He just very not
flat.
Just flat, for lack of a better term. Just very flat in his delivery. It seems like at moments he's like, does he know these lines? Is there any dimension in how he's expressing himself. There's one moment where he's supposed to get mad, and I'm like, that's just how he's talking normally. How could you guys even infer that he was angry in this moment?
It's true. It's really
and
true.
it was just kind of a bummer. I mean, I was like, how would I guess you kind of nihilist is how you described him. Like, how would you describe his personality? It's just, it was not inspirational. He wasn't mischievous. He was kind of sadistic in a weird way, and just very like disconnected almost, where he's just like, yeah, I cut off his hand. Like, oh, I don't know. The way that it came off in the original was like, and then I chopped off his hand and I fed it to the alligator or the crocodile.
It's fun.
It was like silly because
it's the game.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah, no, there's no game in this.
No.
This is all just like, yeah.
So we mentioned Tinkerbell a little bit, and going along with this flat delivery, Tinkerbell doesn't speak, and this Tinkerbell, she really tried to emote, but she just needed to be so much more expressive. I felt like because
more body language,
she needed to get like the body into it. She needed to just have these over the top facial expressions, and I didn't really get that from her. And it was weird. She just came off fairly normal, and that's how acting sometimes is when you're acting, you can be over the top, and then when you look at yourself back on camera, you just kind of look normal. Versus when you're a normal, like if you've ever done YouTube or anything, if you're just talking into the camera as you normally would, and then you go back to the camera, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so boring. For some reason on camera, your normal way needs to just be amped up. And with Tinkerbell, because she's not speaking, I think it needs to be amped up times 5 or 10, whatever that be. And what I thought was odd is when they'd have her try to speak and nothing was coming out. It just they didn't do that with Tinkerbell. She would kind of just like do these sassy facial expressions, but she never tried. It just seemed weird. It was like, is my audio off here? And that's the point, because then they bring this all the way back, and finally at the end, Wendy can hear her. It's like, Wendy, thank you for hearing me. And I'm like, what? Where was the thread that connected?
There was a moment where Wendy was like, Pan knows what you're saying, and she's just like, no, he doesn't. And she's like, oh, he just pretends that he does. And it's just like, well, it's his loss, and I'm just like, okay, so we're just like, this is one of those like true to form, like we're bringing in like, of course, men, they don't listen.
Us girls gotta stick together.
They think they know what's going on, but no, they don't actually listen to us. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like so many frying pans in this movie. And by that, I mean just like, I'm going to whack you over the head with what I like, my passive aggressive nature or whatever I feel like there's just so many frying pans.
Yeah.
And
going back to, we were talking about there's multiple ways that you can, do a remake, right? You can go do the shot by shot, do your best, and those can be fine, especially if it's adapting something that already hasn't been adapted to film. Like, for example, if you were doing a play to film, and then you're going to try to translate as best you can. I mean, I feel like that can go over pretty well. And with this, they made all these different changes to the characters. And with her, I remember I was thinking, what's the point of Tinkerbell? In the play, she serves a huge purpose, and there's things that got cut out from the play, which they didn't bring into the Disney version, which is, believing in fairies.
Mm-hmm.
And how, I mean, there's the believing in fairies, like, I don't know, like with her and she saves the bomb, but that's totally different, right? But this, it's like, clap if you believe in fairies. I believe in fairies. I believe in fairies. And that's it's point where the audience really gets involved, and it's just cool,
Yeah.
And Tinkerbell is played by a little Belle, which is really cute. I think in both, right? Yeah, in both. And did Tinkerbell have a bell noise when she was speaking? If she did, yes. I couldn't even remember.
In the Disney, yes.
No, in this.
Yes, she did.
Okay. It was not a distinct bell. That was something that was very iconic for me to remember. She just overall was just very boring and bland. And I mean, they even nerfed her butt/hips, which was a big part of her, not a big being punny here, is that like she was a little self-conscious. She was kind of into herself, and she was shocked that she had these wide, quote unquote, hips. And it made for a lot of funny gags because we could make fun of stuff like that back then. And now, it's like, oh no, sexualizing the fairy. We cannot have that. It just seemed, okay, then what's her point? Because then we also took away the jealousy aspect, where she is just like hyper, not in love with Peter Pan, but in a way. and very protective of Peter Pan. And so she sees Wendy as a threat. And here she's just kind of like tagging along for the ride, and we use her magic when needed. But other than that, she doesn't have the betrayal where she gives the secret of the location to Hook. You know, she doesn't have from the play, let's believe in fairies, and then she comes back alive. She just was around and used when needed. And even when she was on screen, it wasn't that great because
but we had to show that Peter Pan doesn't actually listen to women. And it's like, I know that there are men who out there that are like, especially in older demographics, are going to be less inclined to pick a woman to speak or something because of whatever. I understand that exists in some circles, in some areas, in some individuals. However, I'm just saying, like, I would love to go about my life just expecting people to respect me, and people generally treat you the way you expect to be treated. And when you don't, you just continue on with your life and they realize that they were out of line. And that's generally how it works out. Like, you don't actually have to say you were an idiot. They just see, oh no, everybody else treats you differently.
Yeah.
So
you know, we have Captain Hook. And
this bothered me to no end. The whole thing.
Oh, go for it.
The fact that they did not make the same actor, Alan Tudyk.
I'm not saying why did that bother you. I said exactly why did they not?
I mean, here's the thing. Okay. I know as we went through 22 or so versions of Peter Pan where they're all taking their own little ways about it. Fine. That's great. Whatever. And you can totally do that. It's just that the original story was written with so many overtones and metaphors. And like, as a child, I didn't notice them. But then when I watched Finding Neverland, my mind was blown. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the fact, like, the dad, the actor who played Mr. Darling always plays Captain Hook.
Yeah.
Why? Because the fear of Peter is to become his father. And because he just had an adversarial view of his father, so he always makes him the father figure, the Captain Hook. And so it's like, now you don't have that adversarial view in there. And it's also a way that for us as the watcher, as the audience member, we are able to look at it, and the story elements are of life. And it's like who we are, who we were, and who we will and could become, or who we even are afraid to become. So it has all these elements that we're able to actually sit back and think of ourselves. And like the fact of the ticking clock is the crocodile. It's time is always coming after us. And so that's why Captain Hook is always afraid of it and doesn't like it, because it's time. And as you get older, you realize, like, oh my gosh, the years start coming and they don't stop coming. and it's just like, I just feel like this version, yes, you wanted to make your own version, but the way that it was done, it just made it feel flat. And you took out all of the nuances and the overtones and the things that would make you think or even relate to this. I didn't relate to Wendy at all. Like, the moment she starts coming out with, like, but what if I don't want to live your life? Going off to boarding school just like you did. And I'm like, I don't relate to this, because my mom would always talk about, like, she did a semester abroad in Spain in college. And guess what? One of my top things I wanted to do after I graduated high school was do some kind of semester abroad in Spain. And I did, because she had done it. And so it was like, I want to do that. And then also, Americans in general tend to think about boarding schools as like Hogwarts. And so it's like this magical thing, boarding school. Ooh, how fun. You know, it's like I get to go away and be away from mom and dad and kind of be my own thing at a young age. It's that extra little bit of, excitement. But it's like the whole thought was her just being a stinker, you know, and you're just like, girlfriend, It just didn't feel natural or any way that I feel like was true.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was a shame, especially because Alan Tudyk, he's in everything. He's a bit overexposed, but
I would like to have seen
compared to the two, Jude Law as Captain Hook and Alan Tudyk as Captain Hook, I feel like Alan Tudyk's interpretation of the character would have been a lot more interesting, over the top, something I would have related a little bit more, whereas Jude Law was a lot more subdued. And that's kind of everything in this movie. It's just neutered. And I mean, the colors from the very beginning, I'm like, this is so dark. Everything is so dark. Why are modern movies impossible to see? You know, I was watching it in a normal room and I just realized, wow, I really miss the color of things. And I really can't wait for the pendulum to swing back to just have very bright, vibrant movies. Right now, everything's trying to recreate realism and make it authentic. And that's not the point of movies, is to be just this complete carbon copy. There's a really great video that I watched recently on YouTube talking about, you know, they just don't make movies like this anymore. And he specifically referenced the Parent Trap remake and
I saw that one too. Did I send it to you?
No, I sent it to you.
Oh,
I know. We send each other so many videos back and forth that it's hard to remember, you know, who was the originator. But I think I saw that one first. It was recommended to me and then I sent it to you. But it was interesting because of all the movies to recommend, it was like the Parent Trap, really? But it's because they had a guy, or the person who was involved as the cinematographer, who just knew light, new color, new cinematography. And so every shot is just really beautiful. It stands out. It makes sense, and it doesn't get washed and blended just like movies nowadays, where it's just a big mush. So that was really disappointing to me. That as I was watching, I was like, it's just hard to look at. And and then likewise, we go to Neverland, and Neverland is so boring and drab. Like, where's the jungle? Where's the cool bright green colors? We had one little rainbow in the back, but it was just not whimsical, and it was like they were trying to, again, let's make this more realistic. So it felt like it was just drab, dreary England, like the cliffs of Dover, you know, like it was a grassy field next to these cliffs, but it didn't do anything for me. It didn't feel original. It just felt like, okay, we're at a place that has cliffs. Okay.
I mean, I've liked when they went into the cave. I thought that was cool. There were a lot of moments. Yeah, but there was a point when they're in there that it's just like, you're looking around. I'm like, this actually looks like a real place. So that adds, I think that adding like real places does add a feeling of like, maybe I could go there kind of thing. But also, I also understand that like having that over the top is kind of Neverland.
Yeah.
It's living in a place that's never going to actually be there.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, just looking through some characters. The pirates, one of the things I really liked about the pirates in general, they were just really grungy looking. I feel like they were one of the best designed characters. I just really am gravitating to these characters that are just really over the top and just deliver.
I actually really, I know you have in your notes that you did not like the songs that they did. I actually really liked their songs.
Okay, let's talk about the song.
They took out basically every song except they added a song that's like a lullaby that ends up being a plot point. But like the songs that these pirates did, they only sang when they were about to push somebody over the edge. And like the first one, I just felt like this is like just kind of fun that they're all getting together. So it's like I was hoping that they were going to add some fun to this whole thing with that. And I felt like even just like the construction of the song, it is basically a sea shanty, but it's like the whole group was just coming in at different levels and coming in at different times, and it was like somebody actually orchestrated this, and I like it. So I felt like those were some of the more interesting parts of the whole movie. I felt like most of the other parts I just was like not really paying attention.
Well, who doesn't love a good sea shanty, right?
Exactly.
It has a great beat. It's very nostalgic and distinctive to pirates. it just initially, as we're getting going, I'm like, okay, of course they cut the songs. The big moment, the second star to the right, straight on till morning. You can fly, you can fly, you can fly. That is cut. And so you're like, okay, it's going to be a more realistic version. Fine, I can handle that. And so then, I've agreed, okay, this is what it is. And they had a little lullaby, but I'm like, okay, I can give that a pass because it's, not really a song. Fine, we're doing the no song thing. And then they bust out this sea shanty. So I think that's why in my notes I called it the stupid sea shanty. But it's actually really nice. But I think I use the term stupid because I'm like, really? You cut all these iconic songs for this? Why did you not just include... I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm just missing the songs that I wanted.
Yeah.
And so as a result, I was looking down on these. And then there was a random piece of like opera music. I was going to pull it up to see what it was, but it was just like a common domain classical music piece. And I'm like, you are doing a Peter Pan film. Why do you not just compose your own version of like this choir? I don't know. It just was bummer of what I'm.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you spent your time on the sea shanty. Like, what are we gonna have next? A montage of the Lost Boys getting together, like set to some lame 80s song? Okay.
The one thing that I do think about having Jude Law is, okay, why didn't they put Jude Law as the dad? Because as in the demographic that I am in, the dads is like, all right, let's. Jude Law is if you've watched The Holiday, come on, it's a classic by now. But like, he's very good looking, but as a pirate, like, he's not good looking at all. Like, there's no charm about him that he would normally have, and I think that's actually kind of funny because you are. It's the same person, but, just you do something a little bit different and you're no longer good looking. It's like, I don't know, maybe like there's just, you got to shave, you do your hair a little bit and you just never know how somebody's going to clean up. So like even give the Captain Hooks a chance, I guess.
So let's talk a little bit more about Captain Hook and the big twist that they had. And it wasn't necessarily a twist,
yes.
but Disney can't help themselves with these remakes. It's like, we gotta make the villain very sympathetic and give him a backstory. It works so well with Maleficent, so we're gonna do it for all of our villains. And so they have this twist where Captain Hook is actually the very first lost boy that was with Peter, and they were best friends. And then he ended up going, or he meaning Captain Hook, ended up going back to the mainland, the real world. He got taken by pirates. Is that what happened?
No, he went back to go find his mom. And then he grew up wrong and then went back to Neverland.
So by the time he came back, he was grown. And obviously Peter Pan never ages because of who he is. And then there's this, the animosity between them and this sadness of what happened in their relationship. He cuts off his hand. And so there's a lot more to the Peter Pan Captain Hook dynamic than we get in other ones. And I actually don't hate it. I thought it was an interesting twist that they were able to put in there. But everything else around this movie just it almost feels like, hey, what about this cool twist that we can do that he was actually a lost boy? And that was kind of the main crux that they had. And then they built the story around it. And everything else just was subpar because it wasn't, they weren't as enthusiastic about it. I don't know.
Well, you can't, when you take away the animosity or the reason to dislike for Peter against Hook between like the father figure and to fighting growing up, like you take away a lot of the other ulterior like just metaphors that are around, and so everything really falls apart. And so you really do have to just kind of like throw other mud against the wall just to see kind of what sticks. And I feel like that's what they did.
Yeah, it was interesting that it was probably one of the parts that I liked more than that. So lastly, so let's talk. Lastly, we have Lost Boys, like not actually boys, girls, last group of
lost
kids.
Uh-huh.
and it's just funny because Wendy even addresses this like, oh, you're not boys. Oh, you're girls. Oh, I guess that makes sense. They could be anyone you want. And she just kind of goes answers the question for us. Like, we know we're going to get feedback about this, so we're just going to say doesn't matter.
Right. This is a frying pan. I guess it doesn't matter, does it? Does it?
Right. But this was addressed in the play. There's a quote in the play that says, oh no, girls, they're much too clever to fall out of their own prams, meaning carriages, meaning that girls would never fall to Neverland. That's why they're only lost boys here.
Girls are okay with moving forward. They want progress. But there's a lot of guys, and I have to be honest and say that, like, yes, in the dating world, in the upper 30s, there's many guys who are still Peter Panning around in their lives. And am I going to say that they aren't actually the villains in the life? I mean, who's to say? But women in general have a desire to move forward. And you get these guys who just don't. And it's a sad place to be because they really do lose out on a lot of different things because they're afraid of committing to something or to making the wrong decision or, insert reason here, And yeah, so in general, more women are more apt to move forward than a man who has a failure to launch, I guess.
So with the boys, they kind of were this ragtag gang of people, and they were fine. They didn't really have the same impact that I feel we got with the originals. I feel like there was the fox kid, there were the two bears, because they really had these unique looks to them when they were dressed as animals in the original. It was like the only one I can remember were the twins. The one that wore like the black kid that had the hat, maybe. He had like this tall pointy thing. They looked like he was one of the trolls from Frozen. But they really than that, they had, or maybe, Anna wears like kind of a hat, like a crown hat like that at one point during the wedding. The pseudo wedding. Anyways.
Yeah.
But they didn't do anything for me. They were just like a collective group that like, okay, well, we have to have these lost boys here and we're going to do this. And then, talking about things that they totally changed, obviously we've talked about Wendy, that she is in the original film. It's from her perspective and everything that's happening to her through her eyes. And Peter Pan is a big character, one of the main protagonists in it. And he's one of the ones that pushes the narrative along. Great. But this...
It's still about him.
It's still about him and working through him.
In her eyes.
Yes. And this one, it's more so Wendy. So we've already talked about that. Then, we talked about Captain Hook, the changes made there.
As far as this version goes, like, I felt like, okay, they're just changing everything. So...
Tiger Lily is our second girl boss to girl boss around.
she's the girl boss that girl bosses. But can I just say, I really envy her horse. Like, I envy her for her horse, I should say. And I love that it's it's a pure white horse, but it's also not an Arabian, because Arabians are really high strung and hard to handle. But beautiful, beautiful white horse. And I envy having a horse in general. So anyway, yeah, that's Tiger Lily. And then it was really weird how Peter then loses his ability to fly and then like comes in riding behind her on the horse to fly in.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was just weird. And I didn't like it at all.
Right. Yeah. It just, like, again, another girl boss saving the day when, I mean, in theory, wasn't this movie Peter Pan and Wendy, not Peter Pan, Tiger Lily, Wendy? I mean, and that's the thing, is because of how the sensibilities of this era of filmmaking, you couldn't have Tiger Lily be a damsel in distress and be kidnapped.
You can't have it. You can't have Wendy being
You can't have Wendy be a damsel in distress. So what can you have? Nothing, really.
Honestly, Peter's the adult.
So Peter is the sacrificial lamb. I'm sorry that you were a big deal in the play and in the original film, but we have to make some cuts because we had to give them to these others. So where can we make those cuts? Peter, it's you.
It is. It's like, all right, dude.
Yeah, we have Jim Gaffigan as well. Which I was like,
I like Jim Gaffigan.
I do, but like, I don't feel like he's known for being an actor. He's not like an Adam Sandler where he's just doing movies all the time. If he does, maybe I'm totally out of the loop. But I'm just like, how did this casting come about?
I don't know, but
It was fine.
Begrudge
He
him
was
for
great.
it. I know. Like, I like Jim Gaffigan, so all right, cool. I think, as far as the whole girl bossy thing is just, it really has played its card too much.
Mhm.
And
I think we're at the end of an era. I think these movies that really focus on that, or the remakes where that's more of the emphasis of changing the heroine that way, I just don't think they're resonating well. I think some of these older, tried and true values that have been tested over generations of people, those are the ones that relate to people, and that maybe the gender roles with her, again, going back, we did strip from Wendy. We stripped the motherhood, like the femininity from Wendy. And
Yes.
that was really one of the most appealing and interesting parts about Wendy in the original, was what she was able to provide Peter in a way. He was telling stories to him. He's getting that from, and then obviously to the boys, and she's, doing the sewing and this, and then she's a caretaker. She had a role that she filled, and that's stripped away. So what else is she there to do? I mean, she has this dream sequence where like her life flashes before her eyes, and it's like everything except being a mother. It's like, wow, you really are bent on not going there, Disney. Like, you don't even want to make this. And so she's basically dies alone on the couch. It's, she becomes like Amelia Earhart, she's like flying planes and does all these things. It's like, okay, I guess that's super inspirational and that's fine. And no, not everyone has to be a mother. I get that. But for this character, that was kind of the point. You can't.
Yeah, she sang the "Your Mother and Mine" song. Like, they took her song away.
Yeah.
But I like, there's this one moment where she's just like, I don't even know if I want to be a mother, but I have one. It's just like, oh my gosh, like these writers need to get off birth control. That's all I can say. Like, what is going on?
I mean, he was a man, but
hey, who am I to misgender someone? So who knows?
Okay, and then the last thing.
It's just the whole essence of the story is ripped from it, because going back to Hook, like the whole essence of his turn, of him finding his happy thought, was realizing that he was a dad. And the reason why he left Neverland was because he wanted to be a dad. He wanted that opportunity. And then he was now his happy thought. And like that's the key moment when he goes, you know what my happy thought was, Jack? It was you. It's like, it's so heartwarming, because it comes back to, once again, he had feared becoming his father, but now has decided he wants to be a dad, and he comes back and he makes it better in his life. And I think that's like, there was nothing wrong with her mother. There was nothing wrong with her life. There was nothing wrong with her dad. Like, her dad was like a little uptight, but like, whatever. And so it really
not as uptight as in the original, or is that what you're referring to? In the original, I mean, man, he really is hard-nosed. And
yes. In the original, but I mean, like, Alan Tudyk's character is just like,
I didn't feel anything for the parents. Like, the parents were just there, and they were serving plot points on a platter.
Right, exactly. So there was no essence to the story. There was no unifying, like, ideals of past, present, future. Mm-hmm. And that's really what, in the irony of it, is Peter Pan in a world where nothing changes. The whole story is about past, present, future, how things change.
Yes. And they also took away from us something that I will never forgive them. They took all the meaning out of the film, but they also took away the sexy mermaids.
No.
I mean, we get a glimpse of the mermaids as they're first entering Neverland, and that flight sequence. I wanted to pause it. I'm like, are they wearing tops? I want to see what's happening here. Because I was like, I'm always interested. Are they going to do the Peter Pan TV series where Wendy's wearing a t-shirt when she turns into a mermaid? You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yes,
or is
yes,
she going to have seashells? Or are they going to be traditional mermaidists where they go free and they're bare?
Yeah.
I couldn't really tell because they were swimming, but I was curious. So not in like a perverted weird way, just in a I want to know what type of mermaids these are. But and that was another thing. So there were so many moments about girl to girl interaction and jealousy in the original, and those things and themes are removed because the mermaids aren't there and they just dote on Peter and they love him, but then they're very catty and vindictive and jealous towards who's she when Wendy comes in.
We were only trying to drown her.
And then, with Tinkerbell, so, a lot of those other things that are highlighted in the film, in the 1953 film, are removed. So before we kind of wrap up, last thing I want to talk about is the animation special effects. And wow, have the mighty fallen. Disney, around 2007, at World's End, not at World's End, the middle one, Dead Man Tell No Tales of the Pirates of the Caribbean film, we have Davy Jones. And Davy Jones, during this era, his animation is seen as top of the top, even today, awesome. Because the way that his octopus squid beard was moving around and how it was rendered and the lighting, it looks pristine to this day. It does not look dated. It just looks fabulous. And this is constantly brought up on Twitter, and like, what happened to special effects? How could this have been nearly 20 years ago? And the problem was, like, the mighty have fallen. Disney, instead of being the experts in animation and doing the animation in-house, now for all of their live action films, they farm it out to all these different studios. They give them a super short budget because, especially modern Disney, they're constantly doing remakes. And so they really don't know what shots they're looking for, as they would with a traditional animated film, for example, where it's very, very much everything is storyboarded out. This, it's like you got the script, and I'm sure they storyboard out to an extent, but then like, we'll just fix it in post. We'll do some remakes here and there. And so then, we have this release date, and sorry, you have 4 weeks to get this done. And by the way, since we're Disney, we kind of pay less than average, and we're going to find the cheapest studio and even pay them less. And so that is very much apparent here in this film. The first thing, the first special effects that I saw were Tinkerbell and her glitter effects. Honestly, it looked straight up like a stock sparkle effect that you can buy anywhere. This is very common for animators and people who do visual effects. You can buy these like stock packages of like fire and of anything, really. So that way you don't have to create it from scratch. It looked so bad. I thought, oh no, if this is what this looks like, I can't imagine. And just, from the shadow looked really CGI and fakey. As they were flying, there were a few parts where I thought they looked good. But then the transition from when they were flying to to like a real grass area. Like they're flying, they land on Neverland. So as they're flying into the grass, you could tell it's CGI. And then they touch the grass, and like even the transition is bulky. It's like chunk. Like, oh, okay, now we're on this is the real footage here. And it just, the whole time, I'm just very distracted by the CGI. The only thing I did really like, which was the portal of Big Ben, where they flew through Big Ben, and it was this like this sort of warp portal that took them, second star to the right, straight on till morning. I thought that was cool. But for example, there was another moment where Peter takes his dagger and he thrusts it into the sail and then drops down. And that was like really bad. He's like, it was bad. It was bad. It's really sad because you shouldn't be distracted by the CGI in a film, especially a film like this. There's no reason for Disney to do it so poorly. But this has just become the Disney standard. They're fine with the way that it looks, and they don't care. Disney's attention to detail and quality is not there anymore. And it's on every aspect of the company, from the parks to the movies to anything that Disney touches. It's just like, it's good enough because we're Disney.
Wah, wah.
Whoa, anyway.
On that happy note.
So I wanted to introduce...
Do you rate it?
No, before we do that, I was thinking of introducing a new segment called We Fix It. This goes before We Rate It section. Now, it seems we seem to be doing this from time to time, where it's like, if I were to write this, I would do it this way. And obviously, our ideas could be totally crap, and that's fine. It's just for fun. We're just brainstorming ideas. Like, hey, we were a junior writer on the story team or something. What would you present to make this better? So, Chelsea, we've talked about the two different ways that you can do an adaptation, the very faithful adaptation of the play, or something new and interesting, taking a different direction like Hook, whatever. What are things that you would do, fix, change to make this better?
So I really I love the original story. I love the metaphors and the meanings behind it and the core of it. I felt like they did they tried to have some of a core of like Peter coming back and saying, "I'm sorry," and then also coming back after the fact, like, "I'm not ready to grow up." And so he like takes the pirate ship back to go pick up Hook out of the water. Like, it just was weird. It just felt weird.
On that, I mean, I really thought that Hook had died. I thought this was a typical Disney death. He fell like a mile down or however far. Yeah. It's like, oh, you will not survive that. I'm sorry. And it was like, wow, savage. This guy is really just emotionally disconnected. I'm talking about Peter Pan. I mean, he's it's not a good look. Let's just put it that way. I mean, in the play, he is more like that. He has this eerie detachment and ruthlessness that he just has this lack of empathy in the play, and they really polished that up for the Disney version. And so I guess that's one way they brought it back, but it didn't play very well at all. So anyway, continue.
So fixing it, I would stick with closer to the actual play, but I don't know. I think even it's been a while since we've had a good adaptation of the play, and sometimes you just want to see somebody else do it. And it's the same kind of story, but just how does this other person embody this whole thing? So I felt like the play itself is good enough. If I were to redo it again or do something else, I would do something completely off the beaten path, such as a Finding Neverland or a Hook, something that's like far enough away but still comes back to it that you're not comparing the two.
Yeah, I mean, I like elements from the play, specifically the believing in fairies, the bell, the clapping. I thought because that was something that wasn't in the original, it'd be nice to bring that in some way, not in a cheesy way. You'd have to really workshop it to make it fun and interesting. But yeah, you need to bring in everything that you don't necessarily have to have the cattiness between like the mermaids, and you could cut the mermaids and whatever, but Tinkerbell needs to have a key role. She didn't do the backstabbing with Peter, giving the location of the dead man's tree. She didn't have, there were no stakes. She was just kind of around, and I felt like she needed to have a moment, of redemption. That was important to have. You needed to have Wendy. You have to bring the mother stuff back in. Like, you have to go back to the original play. What are the themes? What are the elements that are universal that it was trying to teach and tell, and bring those back? So bring back the same actor for Mr. Darling, and do it with Alan Tudyk as Captain Hook. I think that would be, I'd like to see his spin on it. Yeah, but I don't have a ton of ideas on this one. I think because it's been done so many times before that I really don't have this is an easy way to fix it. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the story is good enough.
Because the story is what we know. So basically our suggestions are just like, go back to what worked.
Yeah.
And be okay with it. You could
something
do
totally different.
Yeah, you could do, there could be maybe new scenes that you throw in here or there, or maybe like change a plot point. And that's fine. But like the core elements, I think, really need to be there, and that wasn't. So, yeah. So
you could do the original, just add more sea shanties. I'd be great with
You don't even have to have the songs back. I know that was something that I was really disappointed in, but if you're going to make it more realistic, fine. That's fine. But yeah, so what would you rate it? Oh, let's rate it first.
I'm going to give this 2 stars. It was barely watchable. And even then I was not very engaged. So
yeah, I likewise give it 2 stars. I really didn't like looking at this film. It was very dark from the very beginning. It never really lightened up. It took a lot of the elements that you love from the play and the Disney version and stripped those away. Didn't replace it with anything substantial. And they did try with the manufactured backstory for Hook, but they didn't explore that well enough. I would have liked to have maybe seen some flashbacks, maybe build that more, maybe start the story from the perspective of those two boys, really build on what was lost because of him leaving and taking this step. I think that's how you would fix it, is, okay, you have this kernel of an idea and this one scene where he's explaining his backstory to Wendy. Like, build on that. Build on it more and trust in it and make that betrayal in Peter's mind, hurt. And then give Peter a personality, okay? So, yeah, two stars. And so we asked very last minute, I needed to be better about doing this beforehand, but I asked people on Twix and on our Facebook group, and we have Rachel Wagner speaking of, we were talking about her earlier. She says, it was just average to me, but that puts it on higher end of the remakes. So there you have it, her thoughts along with ours. So that was a good movie. You know what? As I'm going and watching these Disney Plus originals, they're fine. They are. They're not as bad as they're definitely not as bad as I'm critiquing, if that makes sense. Like I'm definitely listing everything that's bothering me about this. I'm paying attention to these things. But if I were to just sit and not be taking notes, just watch it, it would be like, okay, that was a movie.
Right.
And
exactly.
I would never think about it again. And that's not a good sign. And the worst thing that one of these remakes can do is just make you yearn for the original. And that's what Lady and the Tramp did. That's what this did. And so with that, what should our next release be? We were going to do potentially the music by John Williams, the very SEO friendly title. But I was thinking, we could keep going on this train, and why not? Let's handle or tackle Pinocchio.
Oy, we can definitely do that.
And I've heard this is the worst of the worst. So we'll continue with doing our Disney Plus series, and once we venture out of this, we'll do The Boy and the Heron, which I would like to do. I think the next one we could do is Pinocchio.
Okay.
Unless you don't want to.
We can do that. We're already here.
Let's hammer it out, get it out of our system, and never return to it again.
Perfect.
Okay. So there you have it. We will be doing Pinocchio next time on the Animation Addicts podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know your thoughts. Go to rotoscopers.com/335 and send in some voicemails. We've been getting a lot more voicemails. And so hopefully in the next few episodes, we could do another voicemail episode, or we could do some voicemails at the end of a certain episode. But they're kind of on a variety of different topics and films. So keep sending those in. We will bundle them together in our mailbag for when that time comes. Go to rotoscopers.com/voicemails or give us a call at 406-646-6575. And that's all that we have for today. Until next time, we are the Rotoscopers. I don't know why I was telling you that. I'm exhausted. But so Jared, we'll both be exhausted, and we'll be laying on the bed. And he just turns on like The Office reruns or Seinfeld. And those are great. And finally I was like, you know what? It's time to introduce you to The Simpsons. So we've started The Simpsons because he was never a Simpsons guy, was never allowed to watch it, very puritanical in that way. So I think his view of what The Simpsons is different than what it actually is.
Okay. Yeah.
And even if it is what he thinks it is, he's an adult now. So any of the maybe like right. nuance or the things that maybe wasn't appropriate for a 6-year-old, like, you're good.
Right.
So we've been watching them, and we'll watch about one a night. But season 1, it's fine. But I just the whole time, I just want to yada yada. I want to be like, because I'm the one who chooses it and puts it on. I'm just like, should I just skip all these? Because some of these are... The very first episode is funny. It's a holiday special. It's like, why is this the first episode? It's because they had the Tracy Ullman shorts. But it's just really funny. It's the one where they get Santa's little helper. And Bart gets the tattoo. It's just really funny. There's just some really, really funny moments. And so I'm like, okay, do I finish out season 1? There's only 13 episodes.
Season 3, Rin. That's
I know.
the season.
I know. I just want to jump to good seasons.
You're like, I really want you to like this, and I don't want you
That's
to have
the thing.
to
I'm like,
work through it.
I'm like, it's not as funny as some of the other ones, but don't worry. He's like, I don't know, they're just like establishing story and characters. I'm like, yes, but you can get that in later seasons. So I don't know what I'm gonna do.
It's also not like something like, for example, the Arrested Development.
Oh, yes.
Where you do need to get through at least the first 3 episodes in order to actually get into it. But the first 3 episodes may be a little bit of a, What are we doing?
Right.
But then after that, you're like, oh my gosh, yes. Okay.
This is amazing.
Yes. And so, yeah, it's not like that. Simpsons, it's kind of the same. They follow the same thing, and nothing changes after every episode. Very few things ever changed. The only thing really that changed in season 1 was they got the dog. But even then, it's not like the dog plays a huge part in the whole show. So,
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
What would you do? Would you skip ahead to season 3 and really enjoy yourself and then kind of go back later? Because the next episode is the one where they go to family therapy and they end up shocking each other. And I'm like, I don't know. It's like kind of an iconic moment, but not really.
Yeah. I don't know. The fact that I've seen them all means I'm a little bit of a purist. And so I'm like, I need to know like all the things. But at the same time, like I stopped after season 13.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know anything after that point.
Yes. I'm a season 1 through 10 purist with 11 through 13 as that buffer zone.
Yeah.
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 Just do it.
In effort to make sure that he likes it, I would skip to season 3 and then maybe jump back and then go back to season 3.
Speaking of season 3, so apparently a few years ago they took off from the streaming services the Michael Jackson, Lisa, it's your birthday.
What?
Yes, so that is no longer there. I think it's episode 10. Just keep it. Like, who is this helping? Who does it help by removing it?
Yeah, I think that's silly.
So,
honestly, like,
so I'm going to have to find. I think my mom sells all the DVDs that I need to yoink back and keep.
This is why we need to keep the
physical media.
Copies.
Physical media, everybody. Just again, pendulum swinging back. It is definitely swinging back for the physical media.
Mm-hmm.
Which will it swing back enough that it's widespread? I don't think so. It's now. I think it's still sort of it's going to fall into this like. I don't know. Not hobby. Niche.
The niche.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, but I know there's different movies that I'm like, okay, the past, because I was getting DVDs for a long time from Disney and then got off the list, but I'm like, I want to get back on the list. And then 2, all the movies that have been released the past 6 or so years, like which ones do I need to buy? Like I want to buy Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Mm-hmm.
My kids really enjoy that. That's like amazing film. And I'm like, speaking of Wish, I'm like, I don't need to own that. That's fine. Don't want that one. No want it. As my...
So when I was moving, I had full intentions of going through all of the DVDs and like picking out the stuff that I wanted. But it was just, everything was just so overwhelming for me that it was just like, I gotta just leave. So
what did you do?
Unfortunately, I did not get really any of them.
Ah, shucks.
So yeah.
I have a Jungle Book DVD that's in my car that's literally been in my car for years because every time I meet with you, I'm supposed to give you this Jungle Book DVD that was Marissa's. And this is going back to when we did the Blu-ray /DVD comparison.
Oh my
gosh. This is like a decade I've held on to this and like meaning to give it back to you.
You can give it to Marissa.
I know, but when am I going to see her? So if I ever see you again, if I don't mean it like that, but
right
when I see you again. Oh, I will.
That's
actually.
So fun.
You've been listening to the Animation Addicts podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts.
And if you want to help spread the word, be sure to share the podcast with your friends on social media. Just don't forget to tag us at Rotoscopers on Instagram and use the hashtag AnimationAddicts. For all the links and full show notes for this episode, go to rotoscopers.com/podcast. Now, if you still can't get enough for your animation fix, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and visit rotoscopers.com for more animation news, reviews, and interviews. Thanks for listening.